What is up, YouTube? Today, we are going over Guild War defenses for September. Obviously, the release of Harsetti means there's going to be a new Guild War defense meta, especially with her kit. And I wanted to make a video to kind of showcase all of the teams that you can run with Harsetti. But more importantly, Harsetti is going to take one part of the defenses where it's going to take one out of the two teams. And I'm going to give you guys a bunch of different options for the other team and some combinations for Harsetti. So if you guys do enjoy this kind of video on a monthly basis, or if you want to do this bi-weekly, please drop a like and comment below to let me know what you think and help me with the algorithm. Subscribe if you guys haven't already, and let's jump straight into our first defense of today. So super quick, I want to kind of highlight what defenses I've been running recently. I've been running the Sea Phantom Politis, Bellion, and the BBK, and then Conk, Ufin, and ML Ilanev. And you can see that I've had some pretty good success this past while. I've been getting a ton of defenses versus top 30 guilds, top 100 guilds. So it really comes down to how you build the characters. And it's really important that you guys are spending the gold to change the gear on your guys' defense, because I'm averaging like 95 mystics every war. So obviously, can it be replicated if you're in a small tower? No. But I highly do recommend you guys pay attention for the first two teams that I'll be showcasing, because I'll be revealing all of the stats where I use to basically farm these shields. So let's go right into it. All right, so the first team is basically going to be the Sea Phantom Politis, Bellion, Bloodblade, Karen defense. So it's going to be Sea Phantom Politis on a Spatial Temporal Fan, and this is going to be not on my top speed gear, but you want to have the Sea Phantom Politis be, if not your top speed gear, at least in a range where you can speed contest units at like 310, 315, 300, obviously, right? The higher, obviously, the better. But basically, you want to have Spatial Temporal Fan for the best results because you're able to hide the DPS. And the second unit we're running is Bellion. Now, Bellion's going to be not on a really traditional build. We're running a 280 Bellion on 3F. Now, what you can do as well is you could do Elbrus, you can do Holy Sack, you can do Bastion of Perlucia. Really, the possibilities are endless. It really just comes down to what artifact that you have. Maybe you don't have a 3F, maybe it's only plus 15, and you want to go for something else. Feel free to. I've run Holy Sack and 3F on two different wars and basically had the same results. The 280 Bellion, the reason you want to have this kind of build is so that if the BBK does get taken care of, the Bellion is able to cycle fast enough to do a lot of chip damage with the 3F proccing, especially if BBK gets taken out early. That poly is going to be able to trigger and pull the Bellion over and over and over. But basically, you want to be high speed so that you can contest their follow-ups and push them back, right? Our third unit, or last but not least, is going to be BBK. Now, this BBK actually was shown in my August video, and I actually haven't changed this BBK build at all whatsoever. I have tried running a 250 BBK on Secret Art Storm Sword, which is actually pretty good as well. I've actually had a lot of my guildmates run that instead, and they get some really good results as well. So you can either go for the damage dodge BBK, to add the extra layer of RNG, right, from the Spatial Temporal Fan giving the stealth, from potentially a Bastion of Perlucia giving the barriers and stuff like that. You're going to be able to get a lot. You're just able to be a nuisance with the double immortality on the BBK, right? And then if you do run the Secret Art Storm Sword BBK, you're more so looking to try to outspeed the Luna Frida, the Luna Ludwig, stuff like that. Because if they do Luna Frida you and you cut forward and you S through a BBK, you basically kill them, right? So that's also a pretty good option. But that's the first team. If you guys want to give it a try, I highly recommend you set this up. You're going to get shields. Let's move on to our second team that we have on defense. Alrighty, so for our second team that we have on defense, Conqueror Lilius at top speed, 311, 87 effectiveness. And I do know, I'm aware that it's not easy for everybody to hit this stat line. I'm not delusional. But the main thing I want to point out is you want to have it on top speed gear. But the most important thing about Conquer Lilies when you have it on Guild War defense is to make sure that you're running Nostalgic Music Box. And you may be wondering why. Right? What is the reason that we want to have Nostalgic Music Box? It's because this artifact adds an extra layer of RNG. Because guess what? If that Ufin gets increased defense, if that Ufin gets continuous healing, or a barrier goes onto Ufin because obviously Ilanev is a higher HP unit in the team, right? You're able to basically mess up their damage calculations in case they're like, oh, okay, like Ufin's, you know, so-and-so HP. They damage calculate everything, but then they get defense buff, right? Along with Vigor. It's going to be really hard to deal with them, right? So always run Music Box if you're ever playing Conqueror Lilius. This is the best in-slot artifact by far. Now, For the second unit, we're going to be running ML Ilanav. She's going to be an Aureus, and she's going to be an Destro and an HP. And I've dabbled with her build a little bit. I've swapped this over from HP to crit damage and moved it to like a 350 crit damage build. Both builds work pretty well. I've run them in both defenses that you guys saw in the beginning of the video. So just have this on Aureus so that you're providing extra level of survivability for the Euphine carry and the Conqueror Lilius dragging, right? So that you're just constantly providing that protection. They can't pen you. They can't really do anything against you. Then last but not least, we're going to be running the Abyssal Euphine. Abyssal Euphine is going to be on Elbrus, or for better results, you want to go Holy Sac. Holy Sacrifice, Lifesteal, HP, Lifesteal Torrent, Destro Torrent, whatever, right? Any of these options are going to be good. I have found that Lifesteal works much better than Destruction Set because it actually gives you more leeway to beat the Emokens. When you get the defense buff, the vigor, the indomitable, you're able to really tank out the Emoken and kind of outlast him, right? Destro, it is a bit of a gear check, so if you have some really good destruction gear, then by all means, be my guest. But when you have this build with a Holy Sac, you're able to get a lot of Fighting Spirit really quickly because they're not really able to run anything to full pen you and like delete you early on in the match, right? So super, super, super good defense. I highly recommend you guys give it a try. Let's move over to our third defense, which is going to be featuring Harsetti. All right, so for our next Harsetti defense, it's going to be, you guessed it, a really annoying build. It's going to be on almost a base speed build on as much effectiveness as you can. And you want to be on Magic Bubble Maker or Abyssal Crown. Both options are pretty good. And the whole premise behind this, or even Curse Compass, by the way, the whole premise behind this is you want to be base B so that you can abuse her S2 passive, which basically restricts everybody on field speed, right? Then our second unit is going to be ML Ilanav, which is going to be on a much slower build on counter and HP. You can go counter pen, that's even better. If you only have Destro, that's fine too. But basically, you just wanted to have her slow, tanky, be on counter set if possible, and have her be our Aureus Knight to give us extra survivability for our Harsetti and for our Euphine. Now, our Euphine here is going to be on Holy Sacrifice, and we're going to be on a full Destro build. Why are we running this type of build? I'm sure a lot of you guys can make a better Euphine than I can here. This is just with some free gear that I have laying around. But the whole idea is you basically have both of your units extremely slow, abuse the Harsetti passive, so that you're just chunking them and doing a ton of damage and being extremely annoying and hard to kill. And it's just really annoying for people to attack, right? If they come in with a bit of a squishier team, you're going to outlast them. If they come with a team that doesn't have enough damage and they're a bit too passive, they run cleansers, Euphine's going to be able to trigger that or gather that fighting spirit really quickly and actually cause a lot of havoc for the defense or for the attacker. So highly suggest you guys run a defense, either be on speed and have something abuse the Zeo threat, or you have something where you can be base speed and have everything slow and have everyone just abuse the Harsetti passive. And I have tried and tested this in mock battles, and trust me, it worked quite well. If you guys invest the gear into the defense with the Harsetti, she will be just a really annoying, and not just in Guild War defense. This would work in arena defense as well. And I'll go over one more, and then we'll go over a few other teams that people are saying, oh, I need some free-to-play options. You know, we're going to include some free-to-play options. So stick with me. One more Harsetti defense, and we'll jump into some free-to-play options. For our next Harsetti defense, I'm going to be showing you guys, it's a little bit different. And it's going to be a little bit more about the philosophy on how you do want to play Harsetti overall. Now, Harsetti here is going to be on a bit of a faster build compared to our first example, where we're still running a Magic Bubble Maker. You can run, again, Curse Compass, Abyssal Crown, whatever you like. You want to have her on enough speed and enough effectiveness, right? So that it's tuned properly with the other two units on your defense. Now, the second unit that we're going to be running is Bryceria. Now, if you don't have Bryceria, you can use Broman. If you don't have Broman, you can go a Tywin. If you don't have either of those options, you can go with any unit that can defense break. That's AoE, plus a strip, right? So something like a Ran, maybe. But those are a few options that you can kind of go for. We have a 300 effectiveness Bryceria build. And the whole idea why we have it on a 300 effectiveness Bryceria build is so that we can strip any buffs, any cleanses, whatever that they have, and then stick to defense break. And then our third unit, who's going to be our DPS, in this case, it will be BBK. And you're going to want to have it on Destro Torrent and just rip an Alexis Basket and just one-shot them while they're death broken, right? You can do stuff like Portrait, you can do Symbol, you can do a lot of different options that you guys want to go for. Just any damage increasing artifact on your DPS is going to be really crucial to kind of really squeeze out all the damage that you guys want to get. But this defense will be extremely annoying. The philosophy that I mentioned at the beginning of this clip is basically you want to have Harsetti with a defense breaker and a DPS, right? They don't have to be BBK, they don't have to be Briar, like I mentioned, but you do want to have them be defense breakers and with AoE damage, so that you can really abuse the Harsetti passive, so that you're tuned really closely together. As you guys can see in my examples, the Briar that I have is actually 154, while my BBK is 145, so it's actually not perfectly tuned, but I wanted to at least give you guys the idea and the concept on the philosophy behind how you want to play with Harsetti, is to have a stripper, a defense breaker, enabling your DPS to just one-shot them, right? Obviously, Bracier is a really favorable choice here because it shuts down things like Destina's, Baboon Haze, Holy Sacrifice, anything like that, any insurance, completely out the window. But just remember, don't run RB with Briar, otherwise you're Giga trolling. So we'll move on to the next clip for another example. Another defense that has been really good for some of my guildmates, shout out to Mogar, is actually the Conk Senya Conquer Lilius. Or sorry, Navy Captain Landy. So we're going to be running Conquer Lilius on our top speed build. If you're only like 300, 290, 295, it's totally fine. You obviously want to go Music Box for reasons that I already mentioned earlier in the video for extra layers of RNG. We're going to go Release Imprint so that the candy can get extra attack. Now, our Dragonbite Senya is going to be on a 37k HP build, running Bastion and Prelucia so that we can't get Strayed, and we can't get basically one-shot by Gala. You have a really thick barrier, you can't get one-shot by basically anything, right? And then we're also giving a really big barrier to our candy. Now, our candy is going to be on a Destro Torrent build. Now, if you don't have Holy Sack at max, you can go Mature Sunglasses, you can go Elbrus, you can go Symbol, you can do a lot of different options, but basically, the whole idea behind this comp is people more often than not are going to run something like an Emilcan into you, or LCB, or Gala, or whatever. And all of those options are going to be nullified because you have the Bastion and Prelucia shield. You have the Bride's Resolve because the Emilcan can't 100 to 0 you on this kind of build where you're able to do so much damage and output. And the Conquer Lilius is constantly potentially dragging that Navy Captain Landy to a point where she's able to, maybe proc salvo, maybe get to 100 fighting spirit and rip an S3 with vigor attack buff. You're basically dead, right? So I highly suggest you run this comp if maybe you don't have a Eufiends or the Lunas or the Harsettis and stuff like that. I definitely give this one a try because we've seen some really good results in top 30 and top 100 Guild Wars so far. All right, so a lot of you guys have been complaining that there are no free-to-play options in the YouTube comments and also in my Discord DMs. So I'm going to give you guys two teams that you guys can use in your top 1,500, 300, 200 Guild Wars where you're not using any ML5s, okay? So I'm going to be going with Green Sharon here, who's going to be on an F build on Guardian S Crystals just to be a little bit annoying. You want to have high F so that you can strip any potential buffs that has potential teams that have a lot of buffs. We're going to be having Alencia here on a speed build as well, speed and penetration. And at this point, you might be thinking, wow, this defense sucks. Like, there's nothing special about it, right? So the main thing about this defense is you're going to be running T-Surin here. T-Surin is going to be at 300 speed on Secret Art Stormsword. And I know someone in the comments going to say, wow, free-to-play defense, but 300 speed. Listen, the whole idea is about the philosophy, right? So you might only be able to make it 270 or 280 or 285 or whatever the case it might be, right? It doesn't have to be damage, right? As long as you silence, it's going to do enough. So the whole idea is you're going to have double Earth here. And when somebody sees this defense, what are they going to think? They're going to think Knockwall. Knockwall is obviously a really slow character. It's really hard to have a lot of high speed on her, right? In the 280 range, it's already like looking for, quote unquote whale gear, right? So having a T-Surin be on a higher base speed than compared to the Knockwall, you're going to be able to bait them out by having the two Earth units being Alencia and the Sharon, so that if they do decide to go for a Knockwall, you're going to outspeed the Knockwall and then silence them. If you're going to worry about, what if they're, we're going to go ML Luna to just kill us because they can ignore the passive on T-Surin. Well, you also have the Secret Art Stormsword to cut that. Well, obviously, double Earth means they're not going to rank cleave you, right? So you don't have to worry about that whatsoever. And so this defense on one of my alts is actually doing quite good. I would highly suggest you guys run something like this where you want to bait a Knockwall out or bait a Luna and then run the T-Surin so that you can cut forward and land the silences and do the damage, potentially kill a unit. And then obviously Alencia is already tanky enough and you have enough effectiveness on Shirun if they decide to kind of tank down and try to do something funky like that. We'll move on to the second team, so just give me one moment. Now, for the next free-to-play defense that we have here, it is going to be a older defense that has kind of come back from the dead, I guess. So Broman is going to be our first unit, which is an ML4 star, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have a copy of him. So Because Festive Edict actually came out with this artifact, it's his new best in slot, right? So he gets an extra 25 effectiveness for free, and he has a chance of decreasing speed, stunning, unhealable, or venom. So hopefully we land a stun, obviously, but the fact that we're able to hit 300 effectiveness with this artifact being so useful, compared to something, say, like a Curse Compass, where, yeah, you are getting a lot of more effectiveness in the beginning, this Magic Bubble Maker is going to allow you that, if you do get to that second rotation, you're going to be able to potentially, push back, have that silence, land some more debuffs that are really annoying, maybe decrease speed and stuff like that. Now, obviously, this is also going to be able to target things like Blue Elena if they decide to go for an ER check on you. And then our second unit we're going to be running is Green Senya. So Green Senya is going to be at 199 speed. Basically, you don't have to have 6.5k attack, but whatever attack you can manage and have her just be slightly behind the Broman and have her on her own artifact where you can go Warhorn, Holy Sacrifice. All of them are pretty okay options. You obviously want to go Gab because the damage for Lilia's S3 is going to be scaled based off of your teammate's attack. And then our last unit is going to be Lilius, is going to be tuned really closely behind the Senya so that we're on a Destro Torrent build. If you have Destro Crit, if you have Speed Crit, if you have offset broken set, it's going to be perfectly fine, right? As long as they're def broken, that Lilius is just going to rip through their HP bars and just completely nuke them, and they can't do anything about it. And obviously, you're going to want to run the S3 damage EE so that you can maximize that damage and have the extra 20%, because 20% is honestly a lot, because you can actually kill off units without def breaking in the case that they get 15%, right? So this is another free-to-play option that I highly suggest you guys run. If you guys don't have a lot of ML5s, I really do recommend these two teams. Okay, so that's going to do it for today's Guild War defense video. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two and are going to try out some of these defenses and some of the builds that I've shown in the video. Please feel free to leave comments below in terms of if there's any defenses that you guys have been running that have been working that I haven't even thought about, or if there's any flaws that you see in my defenses that you want to point out as well. Obviously, there is no defense that is going to be 100%. There's always a solution to every defense. It just comes down to gear and how people approach the game. Every guild approaches the game differently, but hopefully this will at least inspire you guys to spend some time putting some better gear onto your guys' defenses. And obviously there's free unequip, and Harsetti just came out, so hopefully you guys were able to pull her and take advantage of her on defense and slap her on arena defense on any build, and I promise you your win rate in arena will go up by at least 10%. That is a guarantee, or your money back. But as always, if you guys did enjoy the video, please consider dropping a like and comment, as it really helps me with the algorithm. Please subscribe if you haven't already, as I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It'll really make my year if you guys do help me get there. But without further ado, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video or the next stream, wherever that is. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye.